Today, we're going to have a conversation about Cancer Mars. I have been advocating for people to see the good sides of this placement because people only see it as a weakness since Mars is considered to be in falling Cancer. So, we're going to look at a few angles here that prove this placement isn't even a bad placement at all to begin with. First thing first, let's come back to something I have already addressed a while ago, which is that Mars is the worser malefic. Yes, all divinities have good sides and lesser good sides. And when it comes to the lesser good sides of Mars, we find war, violence, cruelty, belligerence, murder, among other things. All these things can in fact still be very useful when channeled constructively, but in general, those traits show up in the way people handle conflict, and in most cases, they are handled very poorly and or these traits are used in a way that leads to disaster and even crime. The fall of Mars in Cancer, in fact, corresponds to a withdrawal of violence. When Mars is in Cancer, there is a focus on using strength for protection instead of using strength solely for destruction or for conflicts that are the result of a love for belligerence. There is also a dimension of accepting to be vulnerable, to choose love in order to focus on building up what matters rather than getting lost in senseless strife. Also, Cancer represents the home. You do not bring war at home, you live it on the battlefield. Home is supposed to be a safe place. To stay away from violence, to prioritize safety, protection, care, and nurturance is not a weakness. And if anything, if people accepted to prioritize these things, the world would surely be a better place. That being said, now that we have discussed how ultimately the worser malefic being put on quote unquote house arrest can actually be much better than it would be bad, I want for us to look at a perspective of one way Cancer Mars energy can be manifested in nature, which is the wrath of a mother. As we just saw, Cancer Mars is about preservation, and having someone to protect, like a child for instance, can make one turn into the most violent and strongest version of themselves they have ever been. Look at Ceres and Persephone, for instance. Ceres didn't exactly wage war when Pluto took her child, but she became ruthless and people died as a result because she brought winter on Earth, so cold weather, which resulted in no more food for the time being. Cancer Mars folks are capable to deliver the type of violence that will do more than harm you and actually terminate you. The power of nurturance, comforting, and nourishment that is found in Cancer turns into neglect, turmoil, and deprivation, which are all things that can deal a lot of damage. Cancer Mars chooses protection over fighting, but when they go for war, everyone wish they never did. As you can see, there is still a lot of strength with displacement regardless of what people say about Cancer Mars. Now that we have taken a deeper look at the essence of Cancer Mars, let's look at what Cancer Mars looks like in the world. Because people think a placement being dignified is all that matters in order to be successful, when in reality, success depends much more on how you utilize the placements in your birth chart. For example, other elements that fall under the rulership of Mars are violence and competition. So, Technically, if we're sticking to the allegations, having a Cancer Mars would make one weak or a loser. And let me tell you, this is far from the truth. Al Capone, for example, is literally a mafia legend and one of the most violent and powerful men that has lived back in his day. We also have the example of Serena Williams that has a Cancer Mars and is one of the best tennis player that has ever existed. She is pretty much undefeated. Would you look at that? That's a Cancer Mars that is great at competition that we have here. So, as you can see, having a Cancer Mars doesn't automatically makes one weak and inept to win. The problem of Cancer Mars isn't that much about lacking strength or even regulating emotions like people often say. It is more so about consistency. Let me break this down. One of the main things Cancer energy pertains to is emotion. And emotion is about movement of energies. Emotions, the way energies move us, meaning how we respond through our actions to what these energies make us feel. From there, because the moon changes signs every 2 days, and given that Cancer Mars heavily relies on motivation rather than obligation, it can be really difficult to push through with things as the moon taps into a new pool of energies every time she changes signs. If things are not exciting, challenging, and or motivating anymore, bringing them to completion can be particularly complicated. Hence why a very good way to work with Cancer Mars is to work on things that are empowering you and also things whose improvement can be tangible rather rapidly. And most importantly, if you are raising a Cancer Mars child, be protective and encouraging, uplifting. Serena Williams' father is a very good example of that. I know I can get it. You know it. Very confident. I'm very confident. You say it so easily. Why? Because I believe it. You know, and let me tell you why. What she said it with so much confidence the first time. But if you keep going on and on, so we can't keep interrupting. I mean, if you want, you got to understand that you're dealing with an image of a 14-year-old child, and this child gonna be out there playing with your old ass, and me gonna be in the grave. When she says something, we done told you what's happening. You deal with a little black kid, and let her be a kid. She'll answer it with a lot of confidence. Leave that alone. As you can see, she has never lost, so her father's strategy worked amazingly. We also have other very powerful people that possess a Cancer Mars, like Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, Aya Nakamura, Michael Jordan. These people are on top of their respective lanes. Cancer Mars is also a placement found often in the charts of great actors like George Clooney, Sophia Loren, Daniel Radcliffe, James Dean, Monica Bellucci, and many others, as Cancer energy is great to convey and embody emotions, which is a very important part of being an actor. Back to raising a Cancer Mars child, teach your kid that nurturing their talents and aspirations through dedication, patience, and regularity is key. Tell them that in the same way a child cannot grow properly if neglected, they have to cater to their talents so that they can grow. And as a grown Cancer Mars native, If you didn't have a parent that was able to guide you and nurture you in the way you needed in regards to displacement, then you'll have to reparent yourself. Hold your own hand and be patient. Patience and nurturance will help you be more consistent and, in turn, more successful in what you do. Alright, that was it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to turn your notifications on so that you don't miss out the next time I release videos. You can also follow me on my other socials and support me on Patreon so that I can keep up with the good content on here. See ya!